Welcome to MetroCasting. I'm Doug Farley. Northeast Pennsylvania, as we've said many times before, has a pretty good local music scene. As proof, we offer the story of a group of local guys who, back in the 1960s, through their musical efforts, got themselves connected with some pretty big names in the music industry. Are listening to one of Northeast Pennsylvania's biggest, almost made it rock bands. We say almost because if it hadn't been for a serious rift in an entirely different band, as well as some changes in the music industry, these guys might have become a band you would mention in the same breath as late 60s and 70s bands Cream and Deep Purple, Aerosmith, The Kinks, and Black Sabbath. The story of why you don't in a moment. First, let's head back to the early and mid-1960s. There used to be a place in Berwick called the West Side Park Pavilion, where kids could get together to dance and hang out and listen to music from some great local bands. One of those bands was known as the El Caminos. They had a pretty good following, and they played bars and clubs and other places all up and down the Susquehanna River. At one point, a major record producer, Gene Weiss, was alerted to the talent of these guys from NEPA, and they were signed to produce an album based on a concept the El Caminos had come up with, music set to the poems of Edgar Allan Poe. The album they produced became known as Poe Through the Glass Prism, and the band then changed their name to Glass Prism. One song, The Raven, actually charted nationally and reached as high as number 3 here in our area.
Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary.
Unfortunately, their success was short-lived. Mort Lewis was the manager of Simon & Garfunkel, Blood, Sweat and Tears, and Dave Brubeck. He was also the partner of the Glass Prism manager, Gene Weiss. An untimely falling out between Lewis and the lead singer of Blood, Sweat and Tears, coupled with the fact that the signing of country music artists was the growing trend in the early 1970s, kept Glass Prism from being properly promoted around the country, and after a time, the record company put them on the back burner. Still, for a time, they did share the stage with many now well-known groups such as Vanilla Fudge, The Guess Who, and Three Dog Night, and their music was heard by many. In 1971, the Glass Prism became Shenandoah, and the guys continued to play the East Coast circuit and delighted their fans with even more original songs. But by the mid-1970s, the band had split up, and each had gone about making a living in other ways. Until they were invited to perform at a special event at the Edgar Allan Poe Museum. The success of that show led to a couple more well-received concerts, and with the release of their new retrospective album, Resurrection, featuring updated recordings of the Poe Through the Glass Prism album, as well as some other new material, another concert is in the works. A rehearsal for that show is where we caught up with the latest incarnation of Glass Prism. What made you guys want to get back together?
I needed a headache.
What made us the need to play music with these great guys again? We actually were called to do a show in Philadelphia because the Edgar Allan Poe Museum down there has been playing the Glass Prism album that they did in 1969 from RCA Records every day at the end of the tours in the reading room, and people were listening to it. And with the advent of all the internet and communications, they got a hold of Tommy and said, "Hey, are you guys still," I was going to say alive, "are you guys still together?" And Tommy, of course, being the go-getter that he is, he says, "Of course we are. Can you play?" He said, "Of course we can." And so he went down to Philadelphia in 2007, October, Edgar Allan Poe's birthday, and we played at the Edgar Allan Poe Museum's theater, which is the German theater, right in Philadelphia.
Starting this band originally as the El Caminos, and then becoming Glass Prism. Why the change?
Well, the band started in Berwick, early 60s, with George Fox and Steve Bond and myself and Carl Syracuse. And when we started to play in the Scranton area, the popularity was one of those things where you played at every local place, the teen centers and the high school proms and the colleges and the clubs. And sooner or later, someone's going to discover you. So Gene Weiss came to hear us with Mort Lewis, manager of Simon and Garfunkel. They liked this idea that we had of doing rock music with the words of Edgar Allan Poe. And the name of the band got changed to Glass Prism to suit Poe through the Glass Prism theme.
The history of the Glass Prism is you guys were poised. You were right there, just inches away from going over the top and going big time. And then the floor dropped out for whatever reason. We don't go into that. What was that like to you? What was that like all of a sudden realize it's... Did you know right away it was over, or did it take time to realize that?
No, what happened was throughout the 60s, as the band was developing and the writing was developing and we were doing, we're going to New York and we're recording this and we're trying different things out. We did demos for all kinds of people. And finally, we came up with an idea that a bunch of people liked, and we were offered a couple contracts. Mort Lewis, who's the manager of Simon and Garfunkel, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and Dave Brubeck came to Scranton to hear us play. And a couple days later, we signed a management contract with him. Now, he was probably one of the top managers in America at the time. And he started a company called Marble Arch with Gene Weiss to produce new, strong bands. We were going to be the first. We did a demo a couple days later, four-song demo. Within maybe 2 weeks, RCA came to us and said, here's your contract. And we signed the contract. We got a bunch of money up front, 2 albums, singles and all that. They were going to do all the things. And when the album came out, just a few weeks later, after we recorded the album at Les Paul's studio in 3 days, lived with him for 3 days in his house. I had just purchased a 1969 Les Paul that I still use 2 weeks before we went to record. I had no idea that he'd be the engineer. Cool thing. And so when the album came out, Billboard, Cashbox, Record World, the big magazines of the day, predicted hit songs off this album, predicted it to be a top 10 song. The Raven was the single off the album. It all made perfect sense. We were scheduled to go on tour with Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and Mort Lewis was managing them, but he had a falling out with David Clayton Thomas. The tour was canceled, and so RCA backed off. At the end of the first year, when things took a dive, Gene Weiss called up and says, you have another contract, another album to complete your contract. So we went and recorded another album that we weren't prepared for. That album's called On Joy and Sorrow, which they didn't do much with because, management was gone and the deal floated away. And we were still young. We didn't really know where to go from there.
What did that do to you personally? How do you get back on your feet again after something like that?
I was young enough, the guys were young enough that we just thought, we'll just keep going and something else will happen. And I think the band had enough going on that it had the shot at it. We had the voices, we had the songs, we had the concept. And that album, Poe Through the Glass Prism, is one of the first concept albums of all time. That and Sgt. Pepper's and a few others were the only ones. That we weren't thinking concept, we were just thinking this is kind of a neat idea and everybody liked it. So we went along with that. And it turns out in the realm of history that it's one of the first concept albums.
I'm going to switch gears real quick and take you back to the El Camino days. Are you from Berwick originally?
No, I'm not from Berwick. George Fox lived next door to me in Kingston, Pennsylvania. His mother remarried a gentleman from Berwick, and George, who played piano, moved to Berwick. And he called me up one day and he says, hey, we're auditioning guitar players. Don't you play guitar? He was taking piano lessons, I was taking guitar lessons, but we had never played together. As little boys, we grew up, we rode our bikes together. And, we chased after girls together, And I said, well, I'll come down and audition, whatever, And so I went down and I auditioned, and he said, well, you're going to be in the band. So it was George Fox and Steve Bond, the drummer, and myself. And then we added, couple other people. I brought different rhythm guitar players and so forth. And it ended up that we were the nucleus of the band. And George ended up going away to school, to Berkeley School of Music. So, you know, it wasn't just an average player, he was a really good player. And the bass player who played sax and other instruments, Jim Schrader, got into the band. He went away to music school. He is now the music director at Valdosta University in Georgia. So these are not average people. These are above average. Steve was on his way to a job. Steve Bond, the drummer, was on his way to a job. We had an engagement in Scranton, and Steve had a family reunion in Jonestown, Pennsylvania, and he didn't make it. And he hit a tree head on, and he died instantly. No one knew what happened. There was no witnesses. I auditioned drummers, and Rick Richards was one of the drummers that I auditioned. He had just come back from the service. He was just a great drummer, just great. I've never seen anybody play like that. He had learned a lot of the R&B stuff from some of the players that he met while being in service. And so he ended up being the drummer.
Let's fast forward to this upcoming concert. What are you guys hoping to get out of this concert? What do you want to show? What do you want to do with it?
Well, the idea of recording a new album came about with owner of Deborah Records, Dick Plotkin, and that album was to be something to do with Edgar Allan Poe. So a new album was developed by using some of the songs from our first album, Poe Through the Glass Prism, and some new songs that we wrote. And that theme, resurrection, became an interesting idea, which turned into a rock opera with a storyline.
They appeared at 2 concerts locally, and when I heard that they were being resurrected, I went to see them, and they put on such a great show. And I decided to approach the leader of the group, Tom Verano. And Tom Verano and I became very familiar with the music and what they did in the past. And we put together a good idea of how to produce another second level of the Glass Prism into a resurrection, which we call Resurrecting the Glass Prism. And that's how I got interested in it, through the recording of the album.
Some new members have been added. That would be Mike McCurry on keyboards and vocals. Nancy will be singing and dancing. And Lisa Marie Gurley, who's not here tonight, she's going to be in it. And Fran Festa is going to be playing bass. So be 7 people performing songs from the new album, songs from the old album, songs that were hits during the 60s. It's going to be a lot of fun.
We worked when the Glass Prism was changing. One of the last changes it did was turn into the Shenandoah, and that's when they hired me playing bass and keys. And so we worked together, and then Mike and myself and Rick and Fran worked together in a band called Public Enemy. We're in the LCB too, right?
Right, and BBK's Expedition. And Fran and Rick and I worked together.
And yeah, BBK was the 7-piece horn band they had. And Nancy and I work with a duo called Solo 2, and we're still working to this very day.
You joined after during the Shenandoah years, right?
That is correct. Well, that was a long time ago. Yeah, I went to see him a couple of times. Actually, the El Caminos and Into the Glass Prism, and I was playing around town. I played in a bunch of bands that they knew too, and they asked me to join the band. In fact, I was supposed to get into Glass Prism with Carl and Augie still in it as a 5th member, and they were just doing too many things, and I was actually playing. Well, I went with a band called Ralph then. Finally, after Carl left and Augie left, they needed to replace them, so they asked me to jump in, and I played a little bass. I played a little left-handed bass and keyboards.
What got you into the band?
Actually, I work with Louie in Solo 2, and they wanted 2 girl backup singers, so he asked me if I was interested in singing backup, and I said, sure, why not? Be fun. And Tommy knew Lisa, and so he asked Lisa, and that's how we wound up in the band. They just wanted to add a little something extra. That was us.
Well, I got a call about a year ago from what I call my band of heroes. I've known these guys forever, but never got to play with them all en masse like this. And I think I thought about it for 5 minutes. I told Louie, well, I'll call you back. And I don't think I let him wait 5 minutes. I said, yeah, I'll do it. And never turned back.
So far, it's been good, huh?
Oh, excellent.
I'm having a great time.
Don't you think at this point of your career, and everybody's had their own careers away from music, and now you got music, it's just fun to be playing again?
Oh yeah, it's great. No matter what, playing in the band is great. It's always been fun. It's always been good, relaxing. No matter how tense, no matter how what, it's still great to play in a group. I've missed it for the last 15, 20 years that I really haven't. So getting back into it now it's a little bit tougher, but I'm enjoying every second.
These guys were always my heroes. When I first got started back in the early 70s, I used to go see these guys at school dances, and they were just my heroes, plain and simple, and I would just never have missed a chance to play with them finally after all these years.
Are you looking forward to shows after the October show?
Gee, I hope so after all of this. You know, after putting in so much time, I hope there's something else. It would be nice.
Is it nerve-wracking getting back up on stage in front of all those people?
Anybody? No?
Not really.
I don't think so. No, it's
No.
No, a couple
Not
of
at
glasses
all.
of scotch. You put
There's a lot of.
You just lay right back.
It's all adrenaline.
It is. There is.
Yeah.
Summing up 50 years of music in your life, here you are at this next concert. What are you thinking about your life so far?
It's great. It's been great. I wouldn't have it any other way. Be a big star, that would be nice, but other things had to happen. I had to have a family, I had to have kids, had to go on. And that seemed fine. I mean, I wasn't pissed at anybody. I wasn't upset with what happened. I was okay with, hey, we almost made it.
The Glass Prism, probably, if they're doing what they did then, might be the right time now and wasn't the right time then.
I gotta tell you, it was a real thrill to sit in on a rehearsal with these very talented musicians, and the October 7th show promises to be well worth the trip to Scranton to experience it. Ticket information is at the bottom of your screen, and by the way, proceeds will benefit the Northeastern Educational Intermediate Unit's Arts Alive program. So there's another good reason to go check out the show. We'll see you there, and after later.
Life is a breeze. That's it.